in this video, you have to watch it till at least the 9-minute mark. After that, do what you will. But let me know if it got you like it got me in the comments. This video is sort of out of the ordinary for me for RVing full-time, off-grid, boondocking.
It's beautiful up there.
Because I ran into a bunch of Jeeps. And can a 7.3 keep up? So this is a little bit of winter fun. So let's get driving.
Time is a ticking away too fast, and now the road seems like our past. We've got a house and a family. It's all safe and secure. It's all sweet and sound. How come the road keeps telling me to grab you and get the keys?
So in this video, I had one day decided to go down this Forest Service road just to see how far I could get. And it started narrowing in and getting actually snow and really icy. So I ended up turning around and went back to camp. Then the next day I thought it seemed like the weather had improved. So I thought I would head out there again. And nope, it was actually worse. There was snow where I hadn't had snow on my way to drive this Forest Service road and around to White Swan Lake. And there's a hot springs in there, a pretty popular one. But again, I didn't even get as far as the previous day. And I'm like, yeah, I'm out here by myself. I'm not doing it. There's always something nerving or exciting to a degree, you know, about driving somewhere you've never driven before and it's not a road per se. What it really will be like ultimately, and can I turn around? We'll see. Turned around, and no sooner did I turn around, 4 Jeeps, they were modified, showed up, and we stopped and chatted, and they were going to do the loop around to the lake. Now, White Swan hit, and they said they're going to a hot spring. So I thought, So they took off, and I thought, I'm turning around, I'm going to follow them and see how far I do get. It got sketchy, I'm going to say that. And it was intense for me. You know, you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's no cell service, and I'm just following behind. They probably didn't know right away that I was until, because they were moving faster than I was, until they actually stopped for a bit of a break. And then I caught up with them, chatted with them, and just confirmed with them, hey, you okay with me following along, at least as far as, you know, I'm willing to go. And they're like, yeah, that's cool, you can follow us, hang in with us. So away we went.
Country and the cities in between. How come the road keeps telling me to grab you and get the key?
Which it's over a foot deep, just in these lower areas. I just gotta make sure I don't fuck the road off anyway. You can see the underframe of vehicles dragging here, so it's definitely deep enough.
It's all safe and secure. It's all sweet and sound. But how come the road keeps telling me to grab you and get the keys? I wanna drive with you, my love, till we can't see our home. I wanna drive with you, my love, on the road that we once knew. I'll be missing you when you're gone, gone, gone. I'll be loving you when you're gone, gone, gone. Wishing I would've, wishing I could've loved you more. I'll be telling myself it's all my fault. I'll be telling you that you're all I got. Wishing I would've, wishing I could've loved you more. My biggest regret is that I didn't kiss you more. My biggest regret is that I didn't love you more.
Okay, things have calmed down. The snow has gotten a lot less. I was actually plowing the snow from underneath, and the steering was getting really weird, almost somewhat out of control. So I don't know if I hit a rock pretty hard, a boulder actually. So hopefully I haven't damaged anything, but no guarantees. Yeah, the snow got deep enough up here to got deep enough that it filled up my whole front steering mechanism. So I think that, and the fact that my truck is wider than the Jeep, so after I hit that rock, I was so stressed because I thought for sure I had damaged the rim or the tire or both. I mean, it was a hard hit. My phone went flying, and the snow got even deeper in that area. I thought it was something wrong with the truck now, but I think really after now that it's all said and done, it was just the fact that I couldn't keep full sets of all the sets of tires in their tracks. So when I had one side of the vehicle in a track of theirs, the other side wasn't in the track. So that made the truck want to keep wiggling and turning. It was very hard to actually control because of that when it was really deep. It got up to at least 1.5, 2 feet in some places, which really surprised me in the loop that we were doing, how much variance there was in how deep the snow was. But it was pretty intense, but it was very cool. Probably one of these once in a lifetime sort of events, where you happen to be there when, some Jeeps like that, and they were willing to have me come along. At the end of the day, they were actually fairly impressed that I got through it all, which I'm thinking, well, if you had any doubts, you should have told me. But we got through it. There was a couple of tricky spots too where I think they graded the road so that it would make it difficult for vehicles to get in, or it goes over a hump. You'll see it at night, but so I had to keep high up on the right side of it in order not to slide off of it down into the bushy creek, and then that would have been a mess too. But yeah, pretty epic just to go to a hot springs.
I knew that you were wrong, wrong, wrong. We were young and foolish. We did wrong, wrong, wrong. I'll be hanging on to those words you said, even when you ain't sleeping in my bed.
When I found out they weren't going to the Swan Lake hot springs, and that they're going to one that is less known and less visited. I was like, oh, here we go. So I'm following these guys to another hot spring that I haven't been to, that's less known. It's 45 more minute drive. They say I can get there, so we'll see. They were fairly confident I could get there, but you know, they actually moved me. I was last in the lineup. They actually put a Jeep or two behind me, depending on where we were, in case I did get into trouble. They all had their own winches, so did I. And they ended up using one Jeep. The lead Jeep did spin off one hump and got into a little bit of a creaky spot, and he had to be winched in, back onto the trail. I was just like, oh, yeah, what am I getting myself into? Well, I'm not sure this was really worth it, but I guess we'll see at the end of the day. I gotta get under that. I got turned around with but they had to tow me back up to get me, told me just to get me turned so I could get back up. So here we go, hot springs. Was it worth it? I like hot springs, but whoa. We'll see. On we went to the hot springs, and you'll see the nighttime photos. That's us leaving. After we hit the hot springs, we stopped at a spot. That's a camp spot, and fairly known one, I think. Had a really nice fire pit, and we had a nice fire, and they shared a little bit of their wieners and hot dogs and things they brought to roast, and then we proceeded back out. It's hard to tell, but at one point I actually had a 2 foot, by 18 inches square rock underneath my truck. I managed to get over it somehow with the front, but it got caught up against the front side of my rear axle, and I got to a point where I could no longer move it and the truck. So we had to do a lot of back and forth wiggling to get that boulder to come out the side of the truck. And then later on the way out at night, one of the Jeeps just purposely drove into it to try and move it off the trail, which he did move it a bit, which I was surprised. I hope you enjoy. I could have videoed better, But you know, you're with a group that you don't know, you don't want to be a nuisance. I mean, I was falling behind in the beginning, just doing videoing. But in part two, I didn't want to go that fast. You know, it's not something I do often. I don't get out there in deep snow and drive. And, you know, just one thing, I'm full-time RV, so, and in Ontario, we don't have these kind of, you know, Forest Service roads or mining roads. So, yeah, it was a pretty epic experience. I know the videoing isn't going to do it justice, but the scenery was spectacular, so at least you can enjoy that. Hang on, more fun stuff's coming, not just mods.